Hello everyone, and Sax Up Your Life. Woo! Thanks for coming to my YouTube music channel. My name is Sandra, and this week's going to be a bit different from the weeks before. I'm going to give ideas about how to play the saxophone, how to improvise, what sort of saxophone to buy. I'm going to start off with what sort of saxophone are you going to buy and why are you going to buy it? Lots of people say, I love the saxophone, it's so beautiful. I love the sound of it, it sounds just like a human voice. I mean, just look at it, look at the shape of the oh, not this one, sorry. Look at the shape of the saxophone, it's so sparkly, it's so beautiful. You know, it's got a lovely shape. I think it's actually the best instrument. I mean, look at the guitar, doesn't compare with the saxophone. Look at the violin, doesn't compare with the saxophone. Look at the drums. Now, the drums are important. I like drums. Look at the bass guitar, or the double bass is very nice to look at. But the saxophone is the best. It's so good. Look at it. Anyway, so many people say they want to buy a saxophone. Oops, thanks. They want to buy a saxophone, but they haven't got a clue what sort of saxophone they're going to buy because there are so many saxophones. There's the alto, this is the alto, and it has a nice little high-pitched sound. It sounds like this. Now, the tenor is a little bit lower and deeper in sound. I started off with the alto, by the way. I was taught how to play this instrument by my dad. If I were to learn it on my own, I would never have, because I don't think I would have gone for the saxophone. I wanted to play the piano, not the sax, but I'm very glad that I play the saxophone now. Here's the tenor saxophone, and listen to how nice and deep and raunchy it is. So it's a bit lower and deeper, and I think it's richer in sound, to be quite honest, but that's only because it's a Selmer saxophone, a very good one. They are both as easy or as difficult as each other. I like the tenor saxophone because of the tone that I have on it. Yes, I would suggest if you're going to buy a saxophone, listen to different saxophonists. Listen to Sonny Rollins, listen to Charlie Parker. Charlie Parker played the alto. Kenny G plays the alto as well, the alto saxophone.
You blow your mind. Sandra.
Listen to Earl Bostic now. Earl Bostic, he's a fantastic player. He did lots of growling on the saxophone. I'll go into growling on another show. But he did a lot of growls on the saxophone. And it sounded really great. Better than what I just did with my voice. Like this. This is a growl. So this is not a growl. This is a growl. Hear the difference? I'll play it on the tenor. Right, here's a growl. Oh, no, here is not a growl. Here's a growl. Okay? I think that was a bit more than a growl. It was something anyway. Interesting. Right. So listen to different saxophone players. And then find out which one you truly like the best. When you play the saxophone for the first time, after you know that the instrument is in working condition, you take off the top of the saxophone and you put the rest away in its case, and you start practicing on the headpiece like this. You don't practice on the saxophone, you just practice on the headpiece.
You blow your mind.
So you just practice on the headpiece and get used to it. What will happen is you'll feel a bit faint. You'll feel like you want to pass out because you're using your lungs in a way that you have never used them before. So you will actually feel as if you want to faint. You'll feel a bit lightheaded. So this is not you getting all sick. This is not you finding the instrument so difficult that you've got to put it away and never play it again. No, it's just your body getting used to playing the saxophone. Okay, you're going to feel a bit lightheaded, so be prepared for that. So I would say when you're practicing the saxophone for the first time, sit down. Actually, I was taught sitting down. I was taught to play the saxophone sitting down because I was about 8.5 and my father did not want my neck, he didn't want me to have a hunchback or anything like that when I grew up as an adult because I had soft bones. So I still sit down to practice. I sit down and I close my eyes and I concentrate. Boo-boo, sorry. Yeah, I'm just going to put my hands here, boo-boo, don't worry. I had the saxophone on furniture, a piece of furniture, and lower than this. And I practiced, obviously, with a sling around my neck. Sling around my neck, because you should not play the saxophone unless you have a sling, because it will fall and you won't be able to play it properly anyway. So I play the saxophone like this and like that. No, I didn't play it like that. I played it more like this. Now, also, yes, I must remember, my father also had a cushion, a small cushion that he put between my neck and the sling. So he really wanted to take care of my body. He didn't want me to be walking with a hunchback or anything like that. But as I said, I was 8.5 years old. I'm an adult now, so I don't need all that protection. But I would say to begin with, you should use a sling like this, a nice thick one. They also have other slings, but I don't have these other slings at all. If there's a company out there who wants to give me some slings so I can show to my saxophonist audience and let them know which sling would be good for them to practice on, do send me some slings at Sax Up Your Life. Yeah, there are different sorts of slings, as you can see, around my neck. I'll take this off now. Oh, don't get caught up in my hair. There's a good sling. Yeah, it's got caught up in my hair. There we go. Now, how did I know that was going to happen? How did I know that was going to happen? Oh, everything gets caught. Ah, here we go. Right, as you can see, there's a difference between this sling and this one. Now, I use this one to perform with because it's slimmer and you can't see it poking out so much. Looks a bit more attractive than this big great fat one here. But this is the one that I usually practice on if I'm going to practice for a long time. I practice with this one as well. But if I'm going to practice for a long time, it's with this one here. I tell you what you should do. When you buy a saxophone, make sure that everything on it is in working condition. So go to someone who fixes saxophones and just show him your saxophone and ask him to make sure that everything is okay. Don't presume that when you buy a saxophone from the shop that everything is in working condition. Oh, there's nothing worse to make someone put down an instrument and never touch it again than an instrument that is faulty, because if it's faulty you probably will think it's your fault. It's not your fault, it's the instrument that's not working properly. I actually bought a what did I buy? A harmonica. I've always wanted to play the harmonica because it doesn't seem so difficult. I blew it when I was a child and I could get all the notes. So I was so enthusiastic and I was blowing my harmonica and I had a focus. I said, right, at the end of this year I'm going to be able to play the harmonica. Unfortunately, there was a fault on the harmonica, and that made me just put it away, and I haven't touched it since. So there was a fault on it. So if you have a fault on your instrument, you're not going to play it. You're going to put it away, and it's going to end up in the attic, because many people buy saxophones, and a lot of them have these saxophones somewhere in the attic, in the cellar, for decoration. They don't actually go through with learning how to play it. Now, that comes on to the other topic, time. Time, you've got to provide some time to practice your instrument. And lots of people always ask me, how long will it take for me to learn this instrument? And I'm always going, because I don't know. I can't tell them unless I know the regimen. If I know that you're going to practice your saxophone every day, then I'll say at the end of the year, or maybe in 6 months' time, you'll be able to play that saxophone quite well. But if you don't, if you just play it for 1 hour on a Monday, you don't touch it on a Tuesday, you don't touch it on a Wednesday, you play it on a Friday for 20 minutes, you're never going to reach your goal. So what have I covered? Yeah, so you make sure that your saxophone works. 15 minutes per day, you know. And the reason I say 15 minutes per day is because they've got these dreams that they're going to play the saxophone in no time. And you can play the saxophone in no time if you do it 15 minutes a day. But so many people think, oh, I'm going to do an hour a day. I'm going to do 2 hours a day, 1 hour a day, 3 hours a day, and I'm going to be a great saxophonist. But what happens is you do start off playing 3 hours a day, or 2 or 1. And then the next day you're thinking, oh, I don't have time to do it. Or you might have time to do it. But the third day you're thinking, oh, I don't really feel like doing it today. I can't play for a whole hour or for 2 whole hours. It's too long. So I'll do it tomorrow. And then tomorrow comes and you say, oh, I don't feel like it's sunny out there. And you think, oh, I don't want to play the saxophone. I'm going to do it on next week. I'm going to practice next week. And next week I'm going to practice every day. And it doesn't happen. Okay, because you're thinking an hour is such a long time. Oh, it's too long. But if you say 15 minutes comes and it goes just like that. 15 minutes. You do that every single day. What I mean is, if the phone goes or someone comes to visit you, you don't include that time. You get a timer. Yeah, get a watch, a timer. 15 minutes. Okay? Put it on for 15 minutes. And if you are interrupted, put the timer on pause. Do what you're going to do, come back and finish the 15 minutes. Does that make sense? I hope it does. So 15 minutes a day. If you practice your saxophone 15 minutes every day, except for Sunday because you want to have a rest, by the end of the year you'll be a saxophonist. You'll know how to play the saxophone, okay? Right. Right, yeah, just remembered something. Focus on your weak points, okay? So when you're practicing, you're not just doing everything or anything. You know, what do I practice? Well, practice your weak points. Like my weak point right now is tonguing, because I've not done tonguing for a while. So that's a bit slow for me. So if I keep practicing that for, I don't know, 20 minutes or something like that, I might not see any improvement, but the next day I will definitely see the improvement. So when you are practicing anything, and you're slogging away and you're thinking, oh, nothing's changed, I still can't play this, or you're practicing your vibrato, or you're practicing your tonguing or your tone, you might be doing it for 20 minutes, an hour, and you can't see any improvement. You can't see any improvement, but the next day you will notice the improvement. And actually, it's a good idea to tape yourself at the beginning. Now listen to this. When you go and you buy or you try out a saxophone, make sure that you clean it, or it's cleaned for you. Go there with some sort of, I don't know, Dettol or something, and get cotton wool and wipe the mouthpiece obviously you're going to bring your own reed, so buy your own reed, probably a 2 or yeah, number 2 reed. So just make sure everything is clean. You do not want to have, what do they call it, lip sores or herpes or anything like that. You don't want to catch germs from other people. Thanks very much for coming to my channel. Don't forget, if you subscribe, I will play your favourite songs for you. But this particular show is about how to play the saxophone, what sort of saxophone you should play or you would like. At the end of this year, I'm going to be able to play the harmonica as good as I can play. Maybe the panpipe, which I used to play some years ago. Unfortunately, there was a fault on the harmonica, and it might be difficult. Some things are easy to start with and quite difficult to master. I think all instruments are as easy or as difficult as each other. I don't think that there is an easy one, really. Yeah, so I was so enthusiastic and I was blowing my harmonica and I had focus. I said, got caught up in my hair. There's a good swing. Yeah, it's got caught up in my hair. There we go. Now, how did I know that was going to happen? How did I know that was going to happen? Oh, everything gets caught up. Here we go. So this is not you getting sick. And this is not you finding the instrument so deaf. And this is not you finding the instrument so difficult that you've got to put it away and never play it again. Now, yeah, right. Right, yeah, just remembered something. Focus on your weak point. A saxophonist, you'll know how to play the saxophone, okay? Right. When you play the saxophone for the first time, hello everyone, and Sax Up Your Life. Thanks very much for coming to my YouTube music channel. I'm going to give a few advice on the saxophone and also help you to do a few things on it. I'm going to start off with actually buying the saxophone in the first place. What sort of saxophone do you want? You can't just say, I want a saxophone, go in the shop and buy it.
You blow your mind.
Alright, I think that's the end of this lesson. You'll be a saxophonist. You'll know how to play the saxophone, okay?